Hey, welcome to the Tech Capital of the World. I'm Bobby Davis here, and another beautiful day in North Carolina, joined by Kevin Doyle. Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
I'm great. How you doing today?
I have to ask you some big news here. England
Going on?
lost their goalie. So are you
Did
worried?
you see? Did they?
Yeah, they had to bring someone up. They said some guy got hurt or something.
Oh, okay. I didn't know this. Hold on. Jordan Pickford is his name, so I just want to we did win our first game though, so
They did, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I, I watched it, or part
Oh,
of
you
it
did?
anyway.
Did you watch it?
Yeah. So I just noticed that
Awesome.
England was playing. So I said, hey, you know what? I'll check it out for a few minutes.
Yeah,
I totally don't understand
yeah,
soccer as much as I should. I
yeah,
know a little bit.
yeah.
So, but
No, it's good. So yeah, it's Euro 2020 technically. That's
yeah,
what the tournament's called, but it's 2021. So yeah, England won
yeah,
their first game, beating Croatia 1-0, which was
yeah.
a repeat of they knocked. So I don't know if you know, they knocked us out of the World Cup, the last World Cup
Right.
in the
Yeah.
semi-final. So it was a big payback game. So, but not really because it's the first one of a. They play these tournaments like a division. You play a league to start off with,
Right.
and then you get into the knockout stages like after you get out of the
Right.
league bit. So it's over the next month. So there's a lot going on. But yeah, next game's Friday
All
for
right.
England.
Cool.
So yeah, that's cool. Um, I saw one thing this morning. Talk about
All
this real
right.
quick,
Cool.
and we'll talk about some other stuff. But I saw one interesting thing this morning. Look, do you see this? Talk about NFTs a lot here, but Tim Berners-Lee's auctioning off the web source code. So he's auctioning off the internet as an NFT, but it is for charity. So
What is the web source code? I wonder what that
I don't know.
means.
They said in the article says that it's. I did read it somewhere here. It's 10,000 lines of code. So I don't know what
Okay,
it
so it's the
looks
first
like.
HTML spec, HTTP, and URI. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and then some original
Okay.
exploratory web pages, I guess, and a visualization of the code, whatever that means, and a letter
Yeah.
from him discovering the significance and a poster. Interesting. I don't know. I don't know what that
Yeah.
means.
With
But
Python.
so the question is, do we bid on it at $1,000?
I don't think I'm priced out, man. I'd rather go get me some more Dogecoin for that $1,000.
That's
So,
funny. Something tells me it's not going to actually sell for $1,000. I think you might be having to bid a little bit more than that for this thing.
yeah, you think
But
it's gonna go high?
yeah, I do. Yeah.
So
Um,
over under a million. What do you think? We'll just play
Oh,
that game.
under.
What do you
It's
think?
gonna go under. It's gonna go under
What?
that. It
What?
is for charity though. Don't
What's
forget
the
too. So I'm thinking six figures. I
Okay,
don't
so
know
you guys
why.
watching over under a million. So we could put that poll on Twitter. What do you think?
Maybe we should.
I did bring my phone in here. I would do it right now.
Internet gonna be auctioned for over a million or under a million. It's gonna be under. It's gonna be six figures though, is my guess. It's not gonna be tens of
Yeah.
thousands. It's gonna be hundreds.
Okay.
It is for
Cool.
charity. So some very very rich technology entrepreneur is gonna donate 100 and something thousand dollars to a charity and own the internet.
And
I
own
don't
the
know what it
internet.
actually. I don't know what it actually gets you. Because I saw. I was telling you this before. I saw an article the other day that was like NFTs are dead. I'm like, dead? We barely
Yeah.
even. Most of the world doesn't even know what they are. Like, what are you talking
So
about? Premature
here's
death.
the other question: do you think Al Gore bids on it? Since he created it to begin with. I mean, like, is
Probably.
that
He's
like
buying back his property. That's what's happening.
he buys it back?
He's buying it
Tweets
back.
about it.
He's like, finally got my hands back on the internet. That's great. That is awesome.
Oh, that's kind of funny.
Bill Gates is going to buy it, privatize it, and do something
Yeah.
nefarious with it. That's what's going to happen.
They would make jokes about Bill Gates buying it. Say, "Oh, now you believe in the internet." I mean, because like early on you didn't. So,
Exactly.
like,
Oh, you're all about those desktop computers, weren't you, early on? Yeah. Not so much anymore, right, Bill?
yeah.
Sorry if you're watching, Bill. We're big fans.
Sorry, man. Please sponsor the channel. So,
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So yeah, you can anybody bidding on it, let me know. Maybe we
yeah,
can
cool.
pull some money together, pull some taco money, and
Yeah,
bid
exactly.
on the internet. I like it. Also, I got a notification this morning. I think you'd mentioned you were doing this, but you've been in Dice a couple times. The
Yeah, I know.
the website.
Yeah,
You've been on there
yeah,
a couple times. You did a thing about the bootcamp ones, and then this came
yeah.
across my news feed this morning, and I was like, oh
Yeah, I
look,
forgot that
interesting.
I did this. So,
Yeah, this is interesting, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, oh, interesting. It mentions Code of Foundry somewhere, because that's why I got it, and I was like, oh look, you're
yeah,
quoted in it.
yeah. So this lady called me on the phone. I gave some quotes. We did a little interview. So I appreciate Leslie Stevens for allowing me to be in an article. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, cool.
So it talks about one of my passions, which is how do you get a job? Which
Right,
is really the foundation of Coder Founders. How do we turn this into a job? So like education is great, but if it doesn't lead to employment, what's the point? So
right.
like I just want people to participate in what I participated in. So like I just try to give my best advice out there, the things I can talk about the best, and I think I have a lot of knowledge on it that works. Even though I get doubted a lot, some people doubt me.
Right.
You know?
Right. So let's and that's probably what I think that's what we should talk about today. We'll do questions and stuff as well. We'll use some
All
other
right,
things.
cool.
Hey, look, Alantonio / Alantino, thank you. Get the other way. When's the cost going down? Okay.
You know what you can do, Kevin? I think just follow us on Twitter, and we'll announce it as soon as you can know about it. We'll announce it. It is this summer, though.
Yeah, we're going to
And we will say
officially.
it's not late summer.
We're going to officially. That's too much. Telling them too much, probably. This is officially.
Okay.
We're going to. The first time you're going to hear about it will be on this channel. We'll push it out
Yeah.
everywhere else. I promise. It'll be. You can follow us on Twitter. We may talk about it there. We'll do some other stuff too. Obviously, we'll push it out on the community channel. Push it out to people who've actually subscribed, who maybe don't watch us here, because there's some of those guys too. We know not everybody does both. So we will push it out everywhere. But the first time we talk about it, I promise you, officially, will be right here.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever that is, we'll do it on a live show. We'll announce it.
Yep.
But thanks, Alantinio. So it is coming this summer. Just follow us on Twitter, YouTube. Make sure you get those subscribers in, and then you'll get notified if we're going to make an announcement quicker than others.
I'll tell you this, we're getting closer every day. So
we're getting closer every day.
Closer
There's a bunch of dudes recording right now. So they're in there recording right now. So
Yep. Finishing up a bunch of stuff. So we're getting there.
And we sent out some screenshots. So if you're in Discord, that's another place that you should be in, where we are pushing stuff randomly in Discord. I think you released some screenshots.
I did. Actually, I put them out on Twitter. So I put the screenshots out on Twitter, and then I link back to Discord. So you can see it on both. Follow us on Twitter, you can see it there, and then I'll push the tweet out to Discord.
Yeah. So hopefully, if you saw those, or if you didn't, follow Coder Foundry on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at CT Bobby Davis. So you can look at those screenshots. It's kind of cool. It shows you the scope of the projects that we're building, which I think should get you excited. These are big honking projects. So it's very big.
Yeah, the screenshots that I put up were from the bug tracker specifically.
Yeah,
those are the ones that I put out there. Yeah.
Yeah, the one project. So yeah,
the one project. So yeah, I thought we'd use the the article, the DICE article. I just cut back to that real quick. It's talking about, so the point of this article, essential steps for turning side projects into job offers. So basically, you gave DICE kind of your take on this. Your take kind of being, what exactly?
So I think my take that differs from most is you'll see some advice out there, which I think is generally bad on its face, where they say create a passion project, and then and that's what you should do, is do your passion project and then solve a passion problem. The problem I think most people have is when they do that is they don't know exactly what that is.
Right.
And so
that's
a lot of
one
times
issue.
And I'm going to go a couple of ways into this. So the first problem is you don't think big enough, and you look at my passion. What's my passion? Well, I really like Pokemon. So you build a
right,
Pokédex
back to the Pokemon tracker
with the Poke API, and that's your passion project. And then people on Twitter go, "Yeah, follow your passions." And then you get an interview, and they're like, "What is that?" I mean, that's not what we do here. It's kind of lame. Then I also see, because of that also, and it's your first app that you're trying to build, is even inside when I see some Pokédex, and I'm sorry if you've got a Pokédex on your website, I'm sorry, man, but it also is very limited even inside of that. I mean, so
there's not a lot you can do with it.
Yeah. So what would be cooler is if you actually wrote the code to simulate a Poke battle. I mean, it'd be better because you have multiple attributes. You have multiple I'm a, what is it? Rock type and tree type? I don't know.
I don't know. Exactly. I played it for 1 minute when they had that AR version of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody was playing. I don't really remember it.
So like you can have like randomized like attributes, as far as their hit points and things like that. But again, even if you took it that far, it's really you should be interviewing for game jobs at that point. Like so, the other problem is that you could interview with someone who thinks that that is not serious. Okay, good, bad, or indifferent. They'll look at it, they'll make fun of it because it's Pokemon, and I'm a serious person, so we do serious things here. And so, like, they don't see it as solving a business problem. And I think that's the problem. That is the problem with business things. The other flip side of this is you can create a passion project. You actually can do some good work, and you can make some stuff, but it's in a domain that no one understands. And so, like, I remember seeing Tinder for hikers or the rock climbers, and like, if you're not a rock climber, you don't really kind of get that, or if you're not into dating sites, you don't really get that. And like, so if they think that your idea is dumb,
then they're not going to be able to look past that.
It is dumb. Yeah, they're not going to get past it. They're not going to get over it. So this is why when you come to Coder Foundry, we have this very specific advice, and we do get some criticism from some outlets about this, but I still hold fast because it continues to work, and I would change if it didn't. That we'll build the blog and we build the bug tracker because they serve two purposes. The first, the blog is, hey, host your own blog, write about tech, expose your blog to Medium, DevTO, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those kind of things, so you can gain awareness for yourself. That blog software is easily recognizable at what it does. Like, it's a little content system, a little content management system. It's got a database. It's got roles, permissions. They understand immediately what that's supposed to do. And so they can also premise, they can also figure out, oh, there's some complexity involved with that. They understand the problem. So they can, like, without just looking at the UI, they can say, oh, okay, that's a good blog. That's kind of neat. I like what you did there. And they know that there's some work in that. If you're looking at Pokemon, you have no idea, like, how hard was that to do? Like, was that easy? Does everything come from the API? Like, and so they'll dismiss it because of just of what it is or what it's about. And so the blog is a more serious project. And then we go into the bug tracker. The reason we pick bug tracker is that every dev manager has one. So they immediately know what it is, and they know the complexity involved in building a bug tracker. And so that's why we pick those kind of projects. Now, we are going to expand our project set inside of Coder Foundry and on learn.coderfoundry, the self-paced course, to something like Movie Pro that's more pro culture, like a culture kind of pop culturally type thing.
Yeah, it's pop culture.
But we don't think that should be your main project. But it does teach you how to consume a third-party API. We are going to have roles and permissions in it. We have reasons behind why we picked this, and like kind of the features that are going to be in it that we think are very kind of cool, that should demo well. And then everyone pretty much does understand movies. They may not understand comic books, but they understand movies. And the other thing that you can do in Movie Pro is pick the movies that are relevant. So like romantic comedies, you could pick science fiction, you could pitch just action movies or just horror movies, and make your own kind of list of movies. That's what we want to do. So, so those are the kind of projects right now. And then we're going to build some other business focused ones as we roll out more on the self-paced course coming out. That if you're in our bootcamp virtually, you can build these after you leave and continue to cruise your skills. If you're in our self-paced course, it gives you plenty of things to build out, plenty of things to vary your portfolio with, so that you don't feel like you're cookie cutter,
Right.
And so I was watching a YouTube show last night, and one of our grads happened to be on it. I'm not going to name it, but like, he said that, one of the complaints was everyone builds a bug tracker. Is that cookie cutter? And we were like,
right.
He said, I got presented with 6 other Coder Foundry grads, and I won because mine was perceived better by the employer, which tells you that, even if you're building the same project, you have control over the UI, the feature set that you put in.
I think there's a misconception. About the bug tracker.
There's a lot to it, man. Like a lot of place for you to like put your own stamp on it,
Yeah, it's kind of like, so we have you build a bug tracker project, but everybody's bug tracker is different. It's not like you sit down in the class and everybody's like, okay, now everybody like write this line out. That's not how it works. No. Everybody builds their own kind of take on it.
And you have to like, some of the specifications are intentionally broad, which says you need a dashboard.
That was exactly going to be my point. Yeah. The point is the specifications aren't like, they're not super granular. They're very much like, exactly. They're like, you must have the ability to edit the ticket, right? Like that, and that's that's kind of one of the specs, right? It doesn't tell you how that works. Whether is that a button, is that a voice command, is that is it a drop down? It doesn't tell you any of that stuff.
Yeah.
You have to kind of figure that stuff out. That's why everyone's different. So we get this thing well, they're all going to be, people are just going to produce, you have 20 people in a classroom, you're going to come out with 20 bug trackers, and they're all going to look the same. No, we've never seen 2 bug trackers that look identical. Everybody puts their own kind of spin on it. Some of them look similar, because they may use this as a similar template, but there's differences in all of them. And it's a kind of a misconception. I'll also say on the other side of that, too, your passion project, you may luck out with your passion project. Your passion project may also fill the exact same criteria the bug tracker fills, right? Because it might. And that's great. If it does, awesome. But make sure it does. Because if it doesn't, you're going to throw down the Pokemon hole.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you sometimes in your life, you need a mentor to come along and go, here's what you should do. And someone who's been down this road, I've built this, I've actually placed students, I've been working with students since 2014, trying to really refine what Coder Foundry does. But in general, that's coming out with this really good set of advice that says, hey man, you make something that looks good, functions good, solves a business problem, you're pretty much going to win. And everyone asks me all the time, well, what's a business problem? And I'm like, a bug tracker is a business problem, solve it. Everyone has one. And so it's easily recognizable, which I think is the main point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
I don't know how many pitch sessions. I actually had a guy come in here Friday, and I don't even want to talk about what the pitch was, but I couldn't understand what they were trying to do.
Here's why I know his pitch wasn't good, because we didn't talk about it afterwards, and you never mentioned it since. So that's how I know it's not good.
Yeah, so so they want us, obviously to build it for them, and us to obviously probably invest in it. And we're not. I mean, but it's not even that. It's just that it was just the software itself wasn't you couldn't explain it to me. So I had to ask 50 questions, what does this do? What's the value? And so if you're in an interview, you're not going to get that type of interaction with it. They're just going to look at it and go, that's dumb.
Yeah.
Pokemon's dumb. I don't even know what that is. It's something my kids do. And you might get a guy that's into Pokemon, which is probably adults play it. I mean, you get it, but I would say that your percentage of chance is less than them seeing a bug tracker because they work in a dev shop. Yep. There's a 100% chance they've seen a bug tracker before. So that's our advice. So build it, own it, make it your own. But if you want another passion project, just make sure it solves a business problem. It can't be silly either. I mean, it's got to be serious, and it needs to have things like roles, permissions, security, and a database. And that's kind of what I was saying in that article from DICE. Yeah. It's got to have those kind of if you watch the one project, we do get dinged on this because it takes me a long time to name check the project, but it's really not about the project. It's about the archetype of the project. What does it do? And then we say, to fill all those goals, a bug tracker fills that, and we think that's the best project to build because it fills all these. We've thought about it, and this is the one we came up with.
Yep. And you could come up with something else that, again, fits up. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, your passion project might also cross over and have that exact same criteria. So it may work, but make sure that it does. Make sure that it does all those things. Otherwise, again, you'll run down the Pokemon hole. And
yeah, exactly.
It's waste your time.
And the thing is, I feel compassionate towards people that build those because, dude, I like video games. I like these things. I do it. But if I was going into a business meeting, that's not the first thing I'm talking. I'm not talking about my latest raid report on Destiny 2 when I'm in a pitch session. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm more. I can separate that part of my life to other things. It doesn't need to flow into the business side of it. Remember that you're trying to get a job and they're trying to take you seriously as a candidate. It doesn't mean that you can't play. It just means that that's not the time to talk about it. That's why I avoid these personal anecdotes on websites, on their portfolios. I don't need to know that you've climbed the 7 highest peaks. I don't need to know that. I mean, that's an accomplishment. It's cool, but you've got to turn that into, I'm going to build a dev thing for you. So in other words, if you walk away that and you just talk about climbing mountains and you're going to kill Jamaro next summer, he's thinking about are you going to work here or are you going to train? I mean, what are you doing? It's And so like I think that's the problem with when you mix those two too much. And so just keep it pro, and I think you'll have a better chance of breaking in. You know,
Definitely. We will do questions. I've queued some up already. We will get to those in a second. There's one other thing I want to talk about though too that came up recently, and it was the prices of boot camps. I've seen a few things about this recently, but the prices of boot camps, and we get leverage this all the time. We get this thrown at us all the time that boot camps are expensive.
Right.
All the time. People will say it's expensive. Right. And I'm like, my instant reaction is, well, okay, yes, but you have to think about it in relative terms. Relative to a cup of coffee, it's very expensive. Relative to a 4-year college degree, it is anything but very expensive. I would say it was very cheap.
Like when I tell you this right now, I know how expensive college is.
Yeah, you're paying for it right now.
I'm paying for it right now. I have a kid in film school, and that is like, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And so like, so like you're going to spend at a state school, maybe in state at a 4-year school, you may spend 125,000 or more.
Yeah.
And if you went to a top tier school, maybe that's not state supported, the top tier private schools, even more. I mean, so like, and even if you go to what I would say a mid or small tier private school, it's mega expensive.
Yeah.
It's just,
I don't know how this is in the rest of the world. It's not something I've actually looked at, to be honest, about what it costs in the rest of the world. But in the US, particularly, college is just very, very expensive. Education is very, very expensive. A lot of people carry student debt almost for the rest of their life sometimes.
Right.
You're talking about 6 figures in student debt. So if you compare it to that, not only, but you're comparing it not just on, let's just compare the money. Let's say that it's $100,000, right? Let's say that's on a conservative estimate versus, let's say the average, I think they said the average boot camp was 14. That's where 14. That's where they finish. And as is 14.9. That's exactly where they come in. It's like 14, 15 is the average, and then 100,000. I don't know what the average for college is, but if you take it over 4 years, it's probably got to be close to that. It has to be. Some colleges are $50,000 a year. It took $200,000. But also time commitment. We're talking about a 3-month window versus a 4-year window.
And that's if you don't like change your major, move around, take some small class. It could be 4 to 6 years, because some people do spend 4 to 6 years easily in college because things happen and life happens and you miss a semester here or there, or you change your major, or you just something that sets you back. I mean, so like 4 years is if you're like a pristine student that just like knocks it out every quarter. And I can tell you that my college didn't go that way.
I don't think most people's does.
So, so I remember when I finally graduated college, I was in my younger 20s. I remember my dad saying, "Hey, 8 years, 2 degrees, good job." And I'm like, "Thanks, Dad."
That's
so
funny.
like, or 8 years, 1 degree. So like, but I took a minute, I took a detour. I had things in life that happened, and like I had to start over in my college pursuit. So like, 4 years is a lot, and I had student debt after that too. So like, it's it's expensive. It just is.
It is.
So what we want people to understand is, if you're looking for your outcome, we're not saying don't go to college. You can. We have actually CS grads that come to the boot camp. They come here and they've got 4 year, and we teach them a skill, how to code.
Yeah.
And they've learned a lot of other things around computer science. Computer science isn't really a coding course. You got to understand they're two
These are
different
very
things.
different things.
They're very different. And I don't say that the one's invaluable. I say they're both valuable, but not everyone has 4 years and 125K to do that. And so the main skill that we can teach, or lots of other boot camps, is learning how to code, and you can employ that. It's very hard to take a data structures algorithm class and spin that into a job. I mean, I remember I was on a channel with a bunch of YouTubers, and one of them is a very popular YouTube creator, and he was trying to break in the industry, and all he was doing was studying algorithms and data structures. That's all he was doing. Like, and I'm like, just build a website, but I didn't want to discount his journey and how he's doing it. I understand like there's value there, but at the same time, the skill that we sell is like, hey, just build this thing, So like, I think that's where, if you're looking for whether you come to Coder Foundry or not, it doesn't really matter. Make sure you're building things at the end of that. And if you're building things at the end of that, you're well on your way to being and a dev. So
Right.
it is, but that's why we think Coder Foundry is pretty inexpensive. Now we're launching a self-paced course, so we're actually going down another route where we're saying, hey, it's $99 a month, or you can get for $229 right now if you can but like $99 a month. And so we feel like that's a really good deal. Now some people have come back to us and said, well, does that mean that your boot camp is only worth $99 a month? No. 2 different products, way more teacher interaction on the full stack side and virtual, and then limited teacher interaction on the $99 a month side. So 2 different things. And people need to learn self-paced. I get that too, man. Like learn what you want, or you can use it as continuing education, which is another thing that we see is very much needed. You know, if you're out there and you've learned Python, you want to pick up .NET, we think Coder Foundry is a good way to go. But the same holds true for free Code Camp or Udemy or LinkedIn Learning. Not so much there, but Pluralsight maybe, where you can learn some other skills and pick up some other stuff. So there's a multiple ways to do it, which is what's exciting about this industry right now in the time in which we live. Never before has it been so accessible with so many different avenues and so many different ways to break in. So I think that's a long way route that boot camps aren't that expensive. Not really.
Definitely. I'll also say that the other method that you can throw at this then too is self-paced, right? Like self-paced or self-taught. Let's say that you take a Udemy class or whatever, or you read a book, whatever, which is technically the cheapest way to do it, right? Because you've got, let's say that you invest, I don't know, $50 in a course, $100 in a course, whatever it is. It might not even be like a $99 a month course. It could be even less than that, right? You take a Udemy class or something.
Right.
The issue with that is you're talking about your time to market is increased. So it might cost you less up front, but it will ultimately cost you more because, again, comparison. Let's say that we take the scenario of you do a 3-month boot camp, and let's say you take 3 months to get a job, right? Realistically, that's kind of most people's paths generally. Yeah. There's exceptions to that both ways.
Total in learning and job hunt.
Exactly. Yeah. And you find the job. Then you've got, let's say, 6 months of pay after that. Now, most self-study, you will find most people who self-study, they're going to say it takes them a year. That's the one thing we hear a lot of. You hear some people say 6 months, but you hear most people say that it's a year. It takes you kind of a year to pick everything up and do other things while they're doing something else or whatever. That's a 6-month difference, and that's a 6-month difference where you could have been earning for 6 months. Yeah, so exactly. you've earned way more than your $15,000 in that 6 months. Way more. Mm-hmm. You've earned double, triple that in those 6 months. Exactly. So again, it becomes less expensive to do it that way when your initial investment is kind of upfront.
Right.
If it works out for you.
Right. And if it doesn't work out, then you could have spent money at community college in 2 years and it not work out. You could have spent 4 years in college and it not work out.
Yeah.
Most people that graduate college switch their career anyway. So like their degree typically never, when it ends all said and done, doesn't match up with what they do professionally. So, for example, my degree is in risk management and insurance and finance. So that's my degree. I am a coder through and through. So that's just kind of what I do. All right.
It's kind of funny. We were talking about this. Like, it's kind of boot camps are held to this weird standard where it's education, and you're expected that when somebody goes through the class, that everybody gets a job as a developer.
100%. And if it's less than 100, somehow
and it sucks. Well, I mean, think about this. Think about how many people, like back to the college story. Think about how many people go to college just because you say, I'm going to go to college to be a lawyer. It doesn't automatically mean you get to be a lawyer at the end of it.
Yeah, exactly.
It just doesn't. People flake out. People don't finish. People finish, get the degree, and then cannot get a job as a lawyer. Same thing happens. Right. And I guarantee
they don't pass the bar after they went to school.
To a much higher amount, too. A way higher amount. I know for a fact. So I went to a community college in Columbus. I went to Columbus State. Love Columbus State. Great school. I graduated. I was 12%. 12% of people that go to that school graduate. Think about that. 12% graduate.
Yeah.
And that's not even accounting for what degree that you get that takes you into the job. Because that means, you know what I mean? Take half of that. Yeah. So you're talking about 6% of people that go to school probably end up in the career that they went to the school for.
Right.
That's nuts. Imagine if our stats were 6%. We'd be shut down.
People would be begging on the doors trying to lock us up. So
we'd be shut down in a heartbeat. It wouldn't even matter. We say, I mean, our stats are like 85.
85.
We dwarf college. We absolutely dwarf college in the amount of people that end up in the career. Yet for the one person that doesn't end up in their career, they get mad about it. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
dude, really? Would
Yeah,
you
what
be
do
mad
you
at
do?
college if you went to get your psychology degree and you weren't a
No,
psychologist? No.
no one's ever
So
mad at college. I don't
for
know
some
why we
strange
never
reason,
get
there's a
mad.
double standard, and I
Yeah,
don't get it.
yeah.
I don't
So
understand it.
I'm in mismanagement insurance, so I don't. Yeah.
Right, right. It's weird. It is this. It is a very weird thing.
Yeah, I remember taking supply side economics, the law of supply and demand, and having to read a book. And the guy that was teaching the class wrote the book and had to buy his book to be in the class. I thought it was kind of funny, but so like his book is in the bookstore. We have to buy it for his class.
That's funny. I've seen that before too.
Yeah,
That's that's funny. Yeah, don't buy a used copy either. You gotta buy that new one. He needs the
you
royalties.
got to get that new one, Dr. Allen. So
That's funny. Let's see. What's Ben say here? Ben says, changing careers to coding is one of the only places I've seen that if someone does not have a job paying 60K and will have to learn for 3 months, everyone is outraged.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's true.
And we think it's possible to do. I've seen a lot of people in the last couple of weeks that do get that outcome, and then I've seen some that don't get that outcome. And what we want people to understand and this is how you could think about it. When you learn how to code and you get the first job should be your path to a career. We always call it the road to 100K. Not that you'll get 100K coming out of here, but it's the road. The first job is for the experience. Second job could be for money, benefits, and the company itself. But and so we try to counsel students on just get experience, and then you can increase your salaries and that kind of stuff. It is very lucrative once you're 3 to 5 years in. First time it can be difficult, but
Right.
don't be outraged. Just keep on that path, keep doing it. And so
I think we always try and bring kind of like the like what actually happens. We try and tell you guys what actually happens here. We're not going to tell you that like everybody succeeds and it's all golden rainbows. No. We tell you about the golden rainbow stories because we find them amazing. When somebody comes in and they leave us and they do make a 6-figure salary straight out of the gate, we're going to tell you about it because it's epic. Right? Because it's it happens.
We actually had that. I mean, we've had that story. This guy, I can remember he came in and he was a bartender. And I remember his story telling me, he says, last year I was serving drinks at New Year's Eve. This year I'm attending the party and I'm making 105.
Yeah, this year he's popping the bottle at the party.
He's popping the bottle instead of serving the drinks. And to us, that's inspiring to us. But don't think 100K is even remotely normal. It could be in San Francisco or New York. We're talking about where we have a great knowledge of the Midwest, the Southeast, where we typically place students. And we do know that some salaries could be higher in the Bay Area, but the cost of living is higher too. So it's all kind of relative when you move around in New York or the Bay Area. But we feel like coding still is the economic mobilizer of our time. And I think everyone should pursue it, whether they come to our thing or not. It's kind of irrelevant. That's what this channel is not about, us promoting our school per se, but just to hey, consider this as a career. I hope you do.
We also try and do, I think something else too, we also try and do our best to not allow people to waste their money.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we do pretty damn good at that, to be honest. Mm-hmm. We really do. So we get we always get over 100 applications for a class. We take less than 30. So just think about that. We're telling 70 people, nah. It's not for you. Some of those will self-assess, but some of them will be that's not going to work out for whatever reason. There's a bunch of criteria we take into account. So we do pretty good at that too. It doesn't always work. There's still some people who end up coming who just, for whatever reason, just self-sabotage. It's a thing. I mean, we've seen it a lot.
We've had a 12-week course, and we've had guys go to Disney World in the middle of the course and then want us to fix it at the end. I'm like, well, dude, you were at Disney World for 2 weeks. What do you want me to do?
True story. We've seen that.
I'm sorry. I can't help you. I want to, but what do you want me to do? I mean, it's not my fault.
It's one of those things where just know that if you're going to learn to code, you can use whatever kind of assistance you like to do that, but ultimately it's on you. It's 100% on you.
It's a lifelong pursuit of learning. You won't know everything out of our bootcamp or anybody's or even college. And so you're going to be in this lifelong pursuit of where you must teach yourself lots of new things as our careers and as the environment evolves. You may be asked to do things you don't know how to do or use a framework you've never seen before. Nothing's cookie cutter in this industry, and you just have to like learn how to solve those kind of problems. And so that's really what you're signing up for. You know, like you never stop learning. I mean, like every week, even at, you know, every week I'm always learning something new about something I didn't know. And I'm way deep into the weeds on a lot of this stuff. And like, you know, so like just now, for example, .NET 6 Maui's coming out. Guess what I'm going to be doing all summer is starting over on our curriculum, starting over on like what we're building, how are Windows apps built now. It's going to be different, you know, like it's, you know, and you can bring a lot of that into it, but you got to learn things, you know, and what's changed on the website, you know, like those kind of things. And then we see a lot of changes now, even with things like Blazor, which you're starting to see a move to that. You know, that's a new way of doing things. And like, and you see people resisting it even in the industry, like, oh, I don't want to look into that. I'm like, maybe you should check it out. You know, it's like, I think you should check into it. You know, it's not that I get paid if you use Blazor, but like, you know, I'm trying to find a Blazor person right now and I can't find one. So like,
this is an industry where you cannot stay.
Greensboro, North Carolina, let me know. So like,
you really can't stay stagnant, can you? It doesn't, like you just really can't stay still on stuff.
Yeah. So,
but this actually, back to like Ben's comment here too about a lot of people view code as a get rich quick scheme, and I think that's kind of like it's unfortunately with it being so potentially rewarding, that's kind of what it's become, and people think like, oh, and then I guess we kind of add to this because we feel like, and we say this, that anybody kind of can have the ability to do this. Don't let a gatekeeper keep you out of this. But on the other end of that doesn't mean that everybody can do this.
No.
Those are two very different things. Everybody has the kind of the opportunity to do it, but maybe not the right skills to be able to do it.
I think it could be aptitude, and we're different. We're trying to do this in an accelerated way. And so we tell students that don't get into Coder Foundry, like, maybe you need to take a longer path. You need to train some more. Maybe there's some other skills you need to be able to do that. And so like we see people sometimes struggle with just like typing in syntax, like the typing part.
Right.
You know, we're not making fun of people. It's just like they haven't spent that much time with a keyboard and a mouse and a computer. And it's like, you know, that's why, just learn to code, the hashtag learn to code was so negative because it doesn't work for some people, you know, like coal miners, for example. That's where it came from. And it's like, okay, I can see that not working because like you work with your hands your entire life. And now we're transitioning you over to using a keyboard and a mouse. And there's a lot of other things that you've got to get used to. It's not that you're not smart. It's just that it may take you longer. It just may not work in a bootcamp setting. You know, and that's not bad either. You should just say, hey, if I'm going to make this change, what we tell every student coming in, why are you making this change? And make sure you have a really good internal intrinsic why that will keep you motivated through the hard parts of learning and the hard parts of breaking in. And then it may take 3 months. Some people may do it in 3 months. And like, if you don't, that doesn't mean that you were cheated or you should quit. It means that, okay, I'm going to keep doing this because my why says that I'm going to do this. And so like now I'm going to get 6 months in. Or I'm going to take a year. If it takes a year for me, then that's fine too.
Yeah, everyone's time frame is different too. Don't compare yourself. Don't compare your time frame to anybody else's. Just go with whatever your time frame is if you're going to do this. Okay, you want to do some questions?
Yeah, cool.
We have some time here. As far as projects go, this is interesting. So as far as projects go, we'll talk about this earlier, but this was a comment from earlier. But COVID tracker has been extremely diluted as well, it seems. So as a project now, would you make a COVID tracker?
Not now because it's not relevant as much anymore. But it's kind of cool. But
it's interesting because the API is interesting and you can do interesting things with it because it's figures and it's based on global numbers. So you can add in diagrams with maps and states and whatever you want to do. I think that part of it makes it visually interesting for me.
And I think if you're hitting data science-y type jobs, it could be relevant. I mean, like if you're building dashboards for people, it could be relevant. Like, but what problem does the COVID tracker really solve? It's more like pulling data in. I will say this, COVID tracker is way better than using Pokemon. I mean, like it's just by doing that, it could be the same project, the same complexity. People will receive it a lot better.
Yep. I think there's also room there for
Brandon.
some interesting crossovers too. What if you crossed over like a couple of data sets or something would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you could, like in data science
kind
land,
of
you could compare maybe like the H1N1 or flu to COVID. You know, you could look at
yeah,
infection, so like a lot of
yeah,
things like that.
yeah. I
See
would,
how those compared, and like, I don't know, there's other data sets you could
yeah, I would
make
try and make it a little
assumptions.
bit different, like where they
Yeah.
call across the US. If you don't know, it's pop, Coke, and whatever. What's the other one?
What's that?
Soda. Across the US, it's either
Oh,
called pop, Coke, or soda. So you could
yeah.
cross that map with COVID. Nah,
I
just
saw
kidding. That
something
would
very
just be
interesting. They
weird.
talked about the State Highway Patrol here in North Carolina's revenues were down because less people drove because of COVID. And see, that's where you could take COVID data in and compare it to something like abstract, like, okay, did the shutdowns impact the economy? Those kind of things. Those are kind of interesting, like if you can find that data and map them over each other,
That's a
so
funny
like
thing,
less
though.
people driving, less
Please.
tickets.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, but they can't be complaining about that. Surely, that's
Less people died too in car wrecks. So
that's
like,
just what a weird thing to talk about. That's just strange. Like, oh, we didn't get turned
yeah,
out enough tickets. We need to
yeah,
playing
exactly.
catch up now. That's funny. What did I say?
You got to catch them all, man. You got to catch them all.
Oh, that's funny. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Alex. I like Tech Rally. Give him a follow for that
Uh,
comment,
let's
just in case.
see here. Bubblegum Shrimp says, seems like enterprise companies using .NET. Oh, sorry, another super.
Oh, cool. David Ward, thank you.
Okay, we'll come back to that
Okay, we'll
question
answer
in a
that in a
second.
second. We'll answer that in a second.
We'll come back to that one in a second, David.
Yeah.
1 second. We queue you up there too. Bubblegum Shrimp says, seems like enterprise companies using .NET are also requiring knowledge of Angular. Are you guys planning on touching this in the course? Company I work for now uses C# and requires it for new hires.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing a lot in building enterprise websites, you are seeing Angular, you're also seeing MVC, and you're also seeing React. So like your company is saying, which they should, if they're using Angular, they should probably require it when it comes in. And you're using Web API on that back end. What we will do in the self-paced course eventually, and what eventually I mean by this year or early next year, we will show the other project types in Visual Studio, which is Angular, React, with a combination of our Web API course. So that will something we'll build out over the fall this year, and we'll show React and .NET. We're not anti-React or .NET or Angular at all. We think it's a great way to build things. So in addition to that, we're also going to show Blazor WebAssembly as well, because that's another thing. Now you're starting to really see that people are really seeing the benefits of WebAssembly versus some of these other kind of stacks. So I think all of it is useful, and all of it is in vogue, and all of it's being used. So we're going to try to address it all inside of our learning platform, Learn.Code Foundry, for sure.
That's the plan.
Yeah,
thanks for the
cool.
question.
Let's get David Ward up. Yeah,
thanks,
David.
Thank you for the super chat, David. Thank you for the awesome video on compiling C# to one file. That was Jason's video, right? Is that the one?
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. All right.
Yeah, I like that. That was good.
Very cool.
Do you think LINQ is the best way to parse XML in C#?
In many cases, yeah, it works great. And so if you don't know this, what LINQ can do, not only does it can operate on databases, but other types of data sets as well. So that does give you a uniform way to kind of look into XML or other JSON or whatever, and you can use LINQ to do that. So it's definitely a good way. There's probably other ways too, where people parse it with other libraries. I do think having a library to do it helps instead of writing your own. So
is that something we do in the class?
So we're hitting databases, so not necessarily XML as a data source. So
we're using LINQ, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. You pretty much that's what you use. So like it's good.
Okay. The next question here. Oh, here we go. Good question. Ramsey wants to know, what do you guys think of starting web dev through Shopify development?
So I don't think it's bad. And what I would recommend, Ramsey, and you may be a Coding Phase fan, if you not to say, don't leave now. Go after this, go to Coding Phase. My friend Joe Santos, he talks a lot about Shopify development and building components on top of that. The only problem you have is that at least in the short term, putting yourself to that type of development and that you're solving that particular problem. It doesn't mean it's not lucrative. Doesn't mean you can't get paid. Believe it or not, I saw some last Christmas. Shopify ran more transactions than Amazon did, which is very interesting.
Yeah,
you know,
it's so broad. There's just so many shots.
It's so broad, but like when you think about it, that is a good place to be. It's like being a Salesforce developer, you know. So like you're kind of putting yourself in a niche, but that's not necessarily bad. There's definitely it's big enough to say, okay, I probably could base a career around this. So I don't think it's bad at all. You know, and also Salesforce development's also something that you can do as well. So like,
I think WordPress is another thing you can do too.
That's WordPress is another one that's more generic and
it's like a gateway too. Think of it as being a gateway and try and expand yourself past it. Don't just pigeonhole yourself into it. So yes, and I think you realize that by your question. You say starting web dev through Shopify development. And I think that's a great way to do it. Starting web dev through it is perfect. Same way with WordPress too. Start there as well. Pick up some of the PHP stuff in WordPress, playing with templates and stuff, and then go from there.
Right.
So yeah, definitely. But you can make an entire career out of it too. Don't forget, you really can, and people do. People make a lot of money using Shopify.
Yeah, they do.
Well, I know your answer to this one. Rich wants to know.
Yeah. So here's my problem with MERN. It's the M and the N. So
you have a problem with half of MERN.
Yeah, half of MERN, like the ER stack, you know, like, but so it's not that React is not bad. I mean, it's just that I think that Node isn't bad either. I just like .NET on the back end better than I do Node, and then Mongo is just not as well used as say SQL. So like if that was the S, I couldn't even pronounce that. It started with SQL. And, you know, and it was web API on the back, you know, so it'd be the .NET stack. But like, that's just my opinion. So here's what you can do. If you learn React Node development, switching over to something SQL that's not Mongo is not a big deal. You could use Postgres. You could use a lot of other databases. So I don't think it's necessarily bad. You're just asking me, which one do I pick? And it's pretty obvious which one I'm going to pick because that's what I do here on in the .NET side. I do think .NET in general is adopted more than that stack in the enterprise. And I think more jobs in the enterprise than anywhere else. And it doesn't mean that that stack is bad. It just means that I think they're different. And I think .NET's more adopted. So that's where I would roll. I like C# much more better on the back end than I do JavaScript, but that's just my opinion. And I know that tech Twitter would call me out for that, but like, it's just, I mean, you know, it's not, I mean, you can't really debate it. It's not like .NET sucks. I mean, like they say that if I pick .NET, then I'm dumb, but it's not true. I mean, like it definitely something you need to learn into.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, cool. Another interesting kind of .NET question, C# question. What industries are C# mainly used in? For example, banking, medical,
So for
education?
example, is it used in banks? I would bet that 90% of all banks are using .NET. And, you know, medical, education, of course. I mean, so like it's used in every industry. I mean, it's like, so the problem with when people compare C# is they look at their favorite tool and it was written in X. And because it was written in X and they could have picked .NET, therefore they think .NET's not valid. And that's just not true. You're looking at one product or one person that made a decision to use Node.js on their flagship project or PHP on their flagship product. It doesn't mean that invalidates .NET as what's being used. But when you go behind the firewall and you start looking at companies, you start seeing a lot of companies building web API. They're using microservices or RESTful services sites, and they're hooking those things up into all kinds of things. I mean, like, you know, so it doesn't really matter what industry you're in, it's used everywhere. And that's a testament to Microsoft keeping the platform current, Microsoft continually pushing innovation, and Microsoft pushing those Azure sales and making .NET a first-class citizen over there to be able to make it highly competitive when you learn those skills. So I just think it's highly used everywhere.
What do you think about this too then? So here's Ben's take on this. A lot of small businesses use MERN the main reason because they cannot afford .NET devs. Yeah. She told that in an interview. My current company is C# .NET because it's an enterprise company.
I guess, like, I do think this happens too. I think that when you look at small business, I'm a small business. We build our things in .NET. I mean, like, so But that's because I was a coder. And so if I'm a coder, then it doesn't matter what I use because I'm going to be doing the work anyway. So I think part of this is there could be a startup out there that the founding people aren't technical. So they are moved by things they see out there, and they just pick a stack based on someone's tweet or whatever, and then they assume that that's cheaper. I wouldn't say that a MERN stack guy, if you're on the channel, say, hey, I want to make what is C#.net. You probably should. You know how to build things. So I don't know if they're necessarily cheaper. I mean, maybe they think it's cheaper, but
right.
But I do think that yes, C#.net is used in enterprise companies. The reason you get paid more is because they have bigger budgets and they hire more people, and it is, so I think it kind of works. I don't know how much a MERN person makes. I would say that if you're 6 years into MERN and you're gainfully employed all the time, you produce whatever it is they ask you to do, you're in that 6-figure range. You should be. And if you're not, because of the stack you're in, you should switch to .NET because you definitely will. So another reason maybe to switch to .NET, you can make more money. But I think MERN is picked because it's popular in that small circle of people. They'll see something like, I don't know, their popular thing. Well, that was written in Mongo, and then you do see when things get bigger, it gets moved over to SQL, hence Stack Overflow is .NET. So it's kind of cool. I mean, Stack Overflow is one of the largest websites on the planet.
There you go.
So
Yardley wants to know, will the self-paced course only orient web dev? Will I have what it takes using C# to create computer software for business?
So in the beginning, we are oriented toward full stack web development. And so we think full stack web development is the primary way that businesses create software today. There are desktop jobs out there. Well, we will address that next year once .NET 6 is more in demand. And we want to address all types of development. But our primary goal is to full stack web development. That's kind of where we're going to hang our hat for now. But we're going to look seriously at Maui to show you how you could build WinForms, iOS apps, run something on Mac OS, those kind of things. We'll probably do that as well.
I want to see that Mac app.
Yeah, exactly. Get it running on there, So it's kind of cool. But yeah, computer software for business is being done a lot through full stack web apps anyway. So I think it's a good safe bet right now, the way the industry is.
Okay, Ritzbomb, thanks for the question. Says, any tips for behavioral interview for front-end dev? What's considered a behavioral interview? What is that?
I don't know. How do you behave in the interview? I do think this is people do make mistakes in their dress and their overall attitude towards interviewing. So
tell the flip-flop story.
Yeah. So I had a guy come in and the recruiter called me and they said, hey, they dress casual at work. Do you mind if he's coming straight for work to interview? Do you care if he doesn't wear a suit? And I'm like, no, that's okay. That's fine. The guy comes in shorts and flip-flops. And it's like, okay, there's casual. And then there's dude, that's
then there's on the beach.
I mean, you could have wore jeans or khakis for the day, you could have done that.
That's funny.
Wow,
Chris, thank you.
Yeah, we'll get to this in a second, Chris. All right, cool. We'd like to talk to you, really. That's kind of cool. Hunters rule, they do. So a little dusty thing. So it went against, the red flag went off me right away. In other words, the behavior wasn't quite there, but I went against all of that and I hired the guy anyway, and he ended up not working out because he was exactly what you expect from someone who shows up in an interview in flip-flops and just wasn't he didn't really work hard or never really finished anything. And so we had to let him go. But I think that behavioral is you can't overdress unless you go full on Zoolander, you can't do that. But you can wear if you don't own a coat and tie, that's fine. But I would say khakis, brown leather shoes with a white shirt buttoned down, buttoned to the top. I think that's acceptable. You can throw a sport coat on, something when you're interviewing, and people think I'm crazy. But I don't think you need to walk in with a Black Sabbath t-shirt, because you just don't know what the guy thinks. Maybe he's not an 80s rock band. He's more of a 80s pop band, so he doesn't like that. So just try to dress to where you respect the position, that kind of thing. Behavioral is be very humble. I see a lot of tech Twitter tweets that says you need to interview that company hard, ask them the tough questions, and my advice is get an offer, let your recruiter ask some questions about the benefits, the work-life balance, and all that kind of stuff. That's irrelevant, especially early on in your career. Now, as you get later in your career, you can ask questions, but usually you become more savvy and you figure that stuff out right away. Like you can figure out like, oh, okay, this is a sweatshop. I'm going to like pass on this. But like, I don't get a good vibe, but like juniors, just take a job, get experience. Maybe they work you to death. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, maybe it's not fair. But then you can move on. You've built your career. And that's what I want for everybody, is to build your career where you have the options and you have the ability to make choices about where you work and who you work for. So I think being humble is great, and not assuming everything's the other, dressing the part when you come in, and demo in a dev interview. So, all right, cool. I hope that helps.
There you go. Let's go to Chris's question here.
Thanks, Chris.
Changing, thank you for the super chat, Chris. We appreciate
it. $24? Wow.
$24.99.
Oh, you got to spend some time with Chris here. Good grief.
We are luxury tacos. We're getting like extra salsa on those tacos today.
Exactly, man.
Thanks, Chris. We're hitting the salsa bar. We're getting guacamole today. It's an extra $2. Throw it on.
Throw it on, baby.
Changing careers at 45. That's awesome. I started at WGU for software development and am enrolled in your self-pers course. Awesome. Does this sound like a solid plan for breaking into coding? And I guess Hunter's rule was the part at the end, but it's cut it off.
And Hunter's rule. So like Hunter's do rule. Here's what I would say. You went to WGU for software development. I've only heard a couple of things about WGU, and I'm not going to like disparage WGU's job. I think they have pre-recorded content, limited access to teachers, and that's okay. So like the self-paced course should be right down your alley. I think it's very comparable to that experience. You're going to learn online, limited access to instructors. We're going to actually focus on the skills of building projects. So you should be able to, if you've got your WGU degree, and then what you'll get out of the self-paced course is actual projects to put in your portfolio. Those two things together should help you break in pretty easily. So I want to see.
I think you're right. I think what you can trade on is you're going to trade on your education and then your portfolio. Not necessarily how. I wouldn't trade on how you came about developing your portfolio.
Right.
Don't trade on, I went to Coder Foundry self-paced course. No, trade on your degree and the things you've built at the end of the self-paced course. Things I built.
Like, absolutely. We don't like. I've told several people that have created YouTube videos around things they built at Coder Foundry. And the first thing they do is say, at Coder Foundry, they gave us this thing, and they show a spec sheet from Coder Foundry. And it's not that I don't want you to show stuff that we have. It's not that we're going for the whole, like, the takedown strike, anything like that. What we're telling you is we don't think that's beneficial for you as a job seeker. Just take credit for all the things that you built. And then here's the things that I built. Let me show you how it works and talk about your code. I think that's solid, because all you can do is they may look down on the programmer or whatever. And so for whatever reason, it could be it'd be unjustified in our case. But like in general, take credit for the things you built. And so build all the projects, Chris, build that portfolio in the self-paced course, and I think you'll do fine.
It's like you're almost in an ideal situation, Chris, because what we see is some companies do screen against people who don't have a college degree, right? They just do. It's just a fact. We try and overcome that by having a great portfolio and being able to prove you can do the job. But unfortunately, some companies, you won't even get past the first barrier. Well, you're past that first barrier already because you have the college education. But then you're also going to supplement actual projects into that as well. You literally have the best of both. In an ideal world, like everybody that comes to Coder Foundry, we'd love if they had a college degree, because it makes it so much easier. It opens up the world. And then we can actually teach them the skills of learning to develop. That's not always the way it works. But you're in an ideal situation.
Yeah, in fact, for this cohort, we have multiple CS grads coming to the boot camp, and I think it's a perfect. If you even want to consider it like a capstone or whatever, an add-on to your 4-year degree, I think that's a perfect way to do it because like you just get that thing that you can show somebody, you know. And when you start pulling together all the concepts, so like one of the problems at college is you learn SQL in semester one, and then you learn something about HTML in semester two, and then maybe you do some back end C# dev in a console in semester three, but you never really pull it all together to build a complete working full stack app a lot of times. And it's just like we've got to connect all those dots for you. And that's kind of what we do at the bootcamp. So it's kind of cool. Hopefully that helps, Chris. Thank you for the super chat. That's amazing. So that's kind of
that's
cool.
awesome. Thank you. And just as a reminder,
Henry says, hit that button, baby. Thanks, Henry.
The like one, the one that goes button. This way, right? Not the one that goes this way. Not the one that goes this way. You know?
We don't want that. We want that like button. So we got 30 likes right now. So like 85 people watching. So like, you know, hey man, like hit that like button.
We would very much appreciate it. I'm going to do one thing here real quick.
Okay.
She wants to know any good free sports APIs, maybe with live scores. There is. I'd looked at this before. We've never used this. We've never built a project on this. We have talked about it. So let me show this real quick. This one, the Sports DB. It's crowdsourced and it shows tons of stuff. I go back one page here. Look, this is just the football soccer section. They have the leagues, and then they have. I mean, if you want to go for like, the Chile Premier Division is in here, like the Canadian Premier League. And even Canada had a Premier League. They have a Premier League in Canada.
I don't know if there's a free one for live scores either, though, Kevin. I think live scores you're going to end up having to pay him for. So if you're building an app and that's what you want to do, I think live scores is something you definitely will pay for.
Maybe.
I think there's some APIs that will give you rosters and players and stuff like that. But to do an ESPN clone where you're seeing the live scores, I think you have to pay for that data.
I think, I'm not sure on this one. This one's cool though. Look, the APIs, they have like player cards, and like it's pretty cool. Like it's pretty neat. Like it's an interesting one. I did think about like, talking about having an app with this would be kind of cool. Because they give you links to games and stuff too, like a video highlights thing from YouTube, look, which is kind of cool. But I like this one, the Sports DB, and they have a lot of sports on here too. Like if you want to, there's a lot of stuff on here.
Man.
I don't know what this is. Handball? Netball. Come on.
He's only showing soccer, so like he's.
Well, they have this NBA thing. I don't know what that is. Some kind of.
Some
kind of other sport. I don't know. I think. What do you call it? Basket something. I don't know.
Baskets. We shoot baskets. Peach baskets. So.
I don't know. They have big scores. American sports always have big scores, don't they? It's like an American thing to have big scores.
We believe in that the offense, man. It's probably why we don't like soccer, you know.
It is because it's low. It is. Hockey's kind of similar, but I guess that's more Canadian than it is US.
But you can have a breakout, 5-game. People will get hat tricks quite often in hockey, and hat trick is like a big thing in like I would say upper end soccer. Like if you're looking at professional league soccer, hat trick.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's possible, but you don't see one every game. You don't see one. You don't see one every like weekend.
On hockey, you might see it quite a bit. So, because it's a little bit faster than soccer because they're on skates and stuff.
It is. You can have a 0-0, football game, and it still can be a good game.
0-0 masterpiece. That's how they.
It can still be a good game. It can. It doesn't have to have goals. Goals help.
Because the kick, the shootout. So that's kind of cool too, though.
Well, not really. We often lose in shootouts. That's not. We don't want. I never want a game to go to penalties in football ever because England always is terrible in penalties. Although we did well against Colombia in the last World Cup, I'll take that. We finally won a shootout on penalties, but our history is so bad. It's just not something. Yeah. It's a terrible way to decide a game. I don't like penalties. I think it's terrible, but that's just me. So anyway,
all right, cool. We'll call it for the road. We'll be back on Thursday. Just follow us on Twitter at Coder Foundry and follow us at CT Bobby Davis if you want to follow us on Twitter. Keep you up to date of all the things that are going on. Hit us up on YouTube if you're going to sub us on YouTube. That'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
So, appreciate all the watches. And I want to give a special shout out to Chris, man. The $25, man. That's just crazy.
Is 25 the most we've had? I'm not sure.
That's got to be, man. Like that's crazy.
I think it might be. I think it might be the single highest one. So
tacos for a week.
I would say that crazy. Probably Tech Rally's given us more than 25 over time. Right. For sure. So thank you too. But thank you, Chris. Yeah, we appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Chris. And hit us up on Discord and show me that portfolio when you get it built out in Discord, and I'll take a look at it, Chris. Appreciate it.
Very cool. We'll be back on Thursday.
All right. See you guys later. Good go. Keep coding.
See you guys later.